Hey everyone, how you doing today? So I'm going to get right to the point, but before we begin, FYI, word on the street is that the ferrous prices and iron prices is going up. I'm not predicting the market. This is just me, a scrap guy who owns scrap yards, telling people what the word on the street is that I hear. I mean, it's not always correct, but a lot of times it is. But it's going to be up anywhere from 20, 30, maybe even $40 a ton. Again, I'm not predicting, just telling you what we're all talking about. All scrap guys, just picture us. We're like, hey man, what's going on? Yeah, there's money, 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 money. It's pretty much how our conversations go. But through a network of people, this is what I've discovered. That's why I said word on the street. So, that being said, this leads us to my first tip on getting more money for your scrap iron. When most scrap yards sell their ferrous items, number one HMS, bundles, busheling, shreddables, white goods, whatever you want to call it, right? Whenever they sell those, the majority of the time, the way it works is you have a contract and let's say I'm selling to a steel mill, and you say, hey, I'm going to commit to you 500 tons or 1,000 tons of scrap iron, whatever it is. And usually, so throughout that whole month, you have to ship them that much. And, it's going to be more or less or whatever. And that just really depends on who you're dealing with. And sometimes they'll stop you because they'll say, if the price is going to go down the following month after this month, then once you hit your mark, they'll be like, oh, can't send anymore. But that just depends on, buyer-seller relationship, I guess. And sometimes they'll let you overship. Of course, if the market's going to go up the next month, they'll let you overship. But you pretty much, all the contracts go in like a month-long span. Then, once we find out how much we're going to make off of an item, let's say number one HMS, heavy melting steel, then we decide how much money do we want to make off of it. And then you get your price. And so it's pretty much going to be good for the whole month. All right, so my first tip for you is that if you hear from a credible source, someone like me, or I'm not always credible, but someone like me, or someone that knows a thing or two, or talks to people on the street, if you hear from them that the ferrous prices might be going up, scrap iron and tin and all that stuff, whatever you want to call it, my suggestion is to not sell it within the first week. Now, it's not like this at all places, but a lot of places are like this. And the reason being is because like the first week, we don't get our scrap prices sometimes until like sometime in the first week. I've had it as far as like the 10th of the month, which you can see right here. Boom. But we don't get those prices, and there's a lot of reasons. One of the reasons is because like in Texas, I call it the Texican standoff. They're having a standoff. It's like the steel mills and all the people that are buying ferrous, even shredders and stuff like that, they're all waiting to see what the other person's do because they don't want to pay too much. Money, 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 money. They don't want to pay too much, so they have this like standoff, and they like wait till like the last second to put out their prices, and then people start negotiating too. It's not always set in stone, but so pretty much that first week, believe it or not, in a lot of places, not everywhere, but in a lot of places, all the scrap yards are buying in the blind from their customers all these days, and they really don't know what it's going to do. Now, sometimes some scrap yards will take a leap of faith and be like, oh, I know it's going up, so they'll go ahead and jack their price up. But if you want to be certain, I would say wait until after the first week and then start calling around to scrap yards. Now, that being said, if you hear that the price is going to go down, then it's a really good thing for that first week of the month. Sell all you can, because a lot of times scrap yards won't go down on their price until they get final word and negotiate their final deal with whatever steel mill they're going to sell to, or shredder operation, or whatever it is. And so they're not going to change their price until that's finalized sometimes. So if you hear it's going to go down, sell everything you got. And if there's no change, then there's no change. Now, every once in a while something happens where the steel mill doesn't feel like they're getting enough. They have a whole lot of more orders of steel to make and produce, and they don't feel like they're getting enough. So every once in a while they will raise their price in the middle of the month or something like that. So that's why I always say, always call. Every time you're going to take it in, unless you just don't care and it's just something you want to get rid of, then fine. If you've got a trailer load of stuff, always call around to a couple scrap yards to see if any of their prices have changed, because every once in a while their price can change in the middle of the month, and then you're going to be like, oh man, I thought they were paying this much, but they're really paying that much. And this is another reason that I tell everybody to call after the first week if you hear that the price is going to go up or whatnot. Because if you call on the first day of the month and you say, what are y'all paying for this? Then you're going to assume that that's what that scrapyard is paying for the entire month or whatever. And you might not realize that another scrapyard hasn't changed their price yet because they haven't got their price yet. And so you're not going to know that. You're going to go the whole month selling it to this other yard when in reality, if you would have just called every time, you may have found out like, oh, crap, they're paying more money over here. I didn't know that. So if you're shipping a lot of stuff to the scrapyard, you're making a lot of trips to the scrapyard, then it pays to call every time just to make sure that nobody's price has changed. So that is your scrapyard tip or tips or whatever you want to call it for the day. Now get out there and scrap it up.